Hello everyone, and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. As you can see, I have a furry little friend here with me. He won't stay long, I'm quite sure. Today is March the 6th, 2024. And March, this is the first time we've been together since the March arrived. And March is known as the National Crochet Month. So I'm going to be talking about that to get started. But as you know, first of all, and I almost forgot, this is our first show for March. Kiki has to say hello and, of course, show off her latest new outfit. And I'm sure you can guess that Kiki's decked out in green. She's gray like my friend here. Yes. So when he's gone, I'll turn around and put Kiki up where she belongs. And always to start off, I talk about what I am wearing. Now this may be a little more difficult since we have company here, but I am wearing a poncho. I've worn it several times before. Those have been here a while are familiar with it. Hopefully you can see there is sparkle in it. I think it's made with either a very heavy fingering or, it could be sport weight. I'm tempted to say even it's not quite DK weight. It's not that heavy. And it's something I got when I had a Knit Crate subscription, and I think you can see it is the virus pattern. Now I've made virus shawls, and if this is a virus poncho, and I would almost for sure say that I followed a pattern from Fiber Spider because he does both, and he's very, very good to watch tutorials. So if you've never seen anything from Fiber Spider, I'd strongly recommend that you check him out. He has a lot of great tutorials. I've done a lot of his shawls. I really like a lot of his patterns. So that's what I'm wearing today. Now, the next thing I want to do, yeah, you want your chin scratched, don't you? He's a big suck, really. And that feels pretty good. He always knows where my hand is and goes and brushes up against it. Okay, I think what I want to do is start off. We have a lot to cover today, so hopefully I can get to it all. First thing I want to talk about is National Crochet Month. And first of all, I have a few facts. I'm going to be doing some reading. And the first thing I wanted to do was give you a little information, what they call fun facts about crochet. And that's what we're celebrating this month. So the term crochet comes from the French word croche or croche, C-R-O-C-H-E, which means hook. The earliest known written reference to crochet is from 1812, though the craft itself can be traced back even earlier to sometime in the 15th to 17th centuries. That's quite a ways back. One of the earliest written patterns appeared in 1829, published in Mademoiselle Riego de la Branchardiere. I'm sure I butchered that. And you can even find some of her patterns for doilies, shawls, hats, and more online. So I might just put that name in my description box if you're curious to look back at some patterns made by somebody in the 1820s, thereabouts. And crocheting, and we all could attest to this, crocheting has been proven to help with insomnia, stress, anxiety, and depression, and it can even reduce your risk for Alzheimer's. Anything that keeps the brain active and learning is a risk, reduces risk of Alzheimer's. But we can all tell you that part of the reason we crochet is because it relaxes us. It's a stress reducer, and we absolutely love the craft, as well as the positive feelings of peace that we have while we're doing it, unless we hit a snag and get a little frustrated. Now, some of you, I'm sure, have been following other creators on YouTube who are also celebrating the National Crochet Month and are talking about it. And one of the things I came across, I saw this on Instagram, but I saw it first from Nina's Knots Crochet. Linan shared with us this National Crochet Month challenge. I guess this originated from Ola Joe, but I saw it a couple of places on Instagram, and some people are following it. I just, hair and fluff now that he's been here floating around and tickling my nose. So excuse me. All right. Hopefully we've gotten rid of it. So a lot of them are following these items by actually doing the item that it has for every day, and there are, of course, 31. I don't intend to come to you every day. Obviously, it's already the 6th, and I haven't done anything until today. So what I did was, oh man. All right, hopefully it's all gone. So what I did was I went through and checked off the things that I would be happy to participate in or do or talk about. And I think I have a dozen here. And there are four Thursdays in the month. And I thought, okay, every week I'll talk about or do 3 of these items. And I'll just start at the beginning and go through and do the first 3 in order that I checked off. Very first one is meet the maker. Well, you're meeting the maker of the things I show you every time you watch my video, so I don't need to go into meet the maker. But the second one is a whip. And this falls into something I'm going to do today. So I'll look at the next one, and it says favorite stitch. Well, I have to tell you, my very favorite stitch is the moss stitch. I know it's a super simple, plain stitch, but there's something about it. I just, to say, I mean, I like lots of stitches. I mean, I like the virus stitch, if you could call that a particular stitch. I call it more a pattern. I have a few stitches I dislike or I don't like doing too often, but something about if I want to do something very easy and peaceful, or something that's just routine, I don't have to think about, then I would fall back on a moss stitch. I now and again I make baby blankets. Made one for my niece when she had her baby. And I always make baby blankets in the moss stitch. And the reason it's very easy, you can do it with any weight of yarn. I often do, I didn't for her, but I often for others do it in a blanket stitch. And what I like about it for a baby blanket is there are no holes like granny squares that they can get their little fingers and toes caught in. So I like the moss stitch because it gives something solid. It's nice and warm if you do, say, a scarf in a moss stitch. One day I'm going to do a sweater in a moss stitch. I have done one shawl, I believe, in the moss stitch. So that's my favorite stitch. And the next item says something I'd like to try. So I'm going to cover whip and something I'd like to try all in one, because I have one whip from this week. You were with me the last 2 weeks when there was all the discussion about putting the yarns and what yarns I was going to put together. And I finally settled on this yarn and the calliope yarn that I ended up having in 2 different weights. So I started with the calliope. That's the color name of this yarn. And this is Midnight. I'm going to put it down, but this is an arcane fiber. It's fingering weight, and it's a merino nylon blend. And while it's here, I'm going to show you I'm using my Furls number 4 hook. But the other part of it is Crema Sock Calliope, and it's an Expression Fiber Arts yarn. And Crema Sock is 70% superwash merino and 30% mulberry silk. It has 350 yards in the skein. I used it all except this much, and I covered exactly what she suggested in the pattern. Now, she did say you can go further, and if I had had a different hank of yarn, skein of yarn that had like 400 or more yards, I probably would have done one more repeat. But this is how far I got in the pattern. And I'm going to put a quick picture up here showing you this Starlight Shawl. I showed it last week as well. And this is how far I got. There's my end. And what I didn't realize when I picked it is that the solid color is going to be the lace at the bottom. The solid color also has a row every so often in the body of it. Now, this seems fairly small to me. I know it will block out. And of course, the lace will make it bigger. But had I had a skein of yarn that was longer, I would have made it one more section because I really would have liked this to be bigger. But it was nice to work with. It was a very easy pattern. The only hard part in my mind, which was her telling you how not to cut your yarn here, because you only do one row. You do one row across, and then you go back and pick up a live stitch and continue on with the other. I did that once, and then I decided that I didn't mind having ends, and I would much rather do my normal thing back and forth. So there it is, the Starlight Shawl as far as I have gotten. So that's my whip. Now, I'll tell you honestly, I had this done before the end of the month, before the end of February, right around the end of February. Had to be before the end of February. And on the weekend. And for some reason, I kind of lost my, I don't know, my crojo, I guess. For some reason, I did not feel like continuing this because it was going to take too much brain power. So I put it aside and I went and worked on something very straightforward. I finished it. It will be a finished object for next week because I have too much to show you this week. I, for some reason, just didn't feel like going on with the more focused part, which would be the lace work on the bottom. Okay, so that's the whip, but it also includes the next item in the challenge for the month, and that is, it says here, which is number 4 on the list, something I'd like to try. Well, as I told you, and I've told you for a while, there's many things I'd like to try. But one of the things I'd like to try is beadwork. So I have these beads that will go on this yarn, which will be the lace. So I will be working this month on something I'd like to try, which is beads. Now it says I need 130 grams, and this isn't anywhere near that. I can't imagine. I don't have enough. It says it's 40 grams, but it does get quite wide at the bottom. So I won't be putting on quite as many beads as they say, because I'm a little afraid of running out. So I'm going to put 3 rows of beads throughout the main part of the lace, and if there's still beads left, there's one row that's kind of got points that I'll put beads in as well. We'll see how far they go. And as I said, I don't know when I will get to it. I'm hoping that maybe next week I will feel like tackling this again. Right now, I just want to pick up a real easy shawl in a heavier weight yarn and do something so almost mindless, like a granny merge maybe, for donation. I haven't really been feeling too well the last few days, and I think I just want to do something that takes very little effort. But anyway, there is my whip, along with something I want to try for a little later in the month, and I will get it done in the next week or two. And then after that, I will bring you a bit of a tutorial on beading. And I want to do that this month because besides trying to meet this challenge, I want to do a few special things this month. And the first special thing, another thing I want to try, is a tutorial. So I'm hoping to bring you a tutorial later this month, and I'm also planning to bring you another focus on a designer, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And I want to do that this month as well. All right, so that finishes talking about Crochet Month. We will talk about it each week. Next thing I want to talk about is FOs. As you know, last week, oh, now I can put Kiki up out of the way. As you know, last week, I didn't get to showing you an FO that I finished the previous, I finished it up to last week. And that is this item right here on my mannequin. And I'm going to try to move over without knocking the other one down, because I would like you to see the back. And there it is. I'll take it off of her and show it to you. And this is the pattern Field of Dreams. And I first saw it on Nina's Knots Crochet. Lynanne did this, and I had looked at this pattern and had it in my favorites. But sometimes it called to me, but most of the time I looked at it and said, well, you know, it had striping in it, and it was very bold, 3 different colors of striping. And I thought, well, I'll have to do something different. But then when I saw Lynanne's, she did it actually, I believe, for my January inspiration month, you know, my cal for the month. And what I liked about hers that made me want to give this a try is there are 2 different colors in here, which really makes it heavy looking, stripy. And I wasn't really excited about the stripes. But what I noticed Lynanne did is I know she used an arcane fiber yarn, and she did in here, and you can see it, I've done stripes, but in 2 colors that really blend. So I had, find it here, I had a variegated pink, and then I had a tonal dusty rose pink, and the 2 go together. And by putting 2 that are very similar together, I'll talk about the yarn in a minute, it doesn't give it such a obvious stripy look. And then, of course, the third one is this. And this is how much I had left from each skein of yarn, which I'll talk about in a minute. So there's quite a bit here. I could do something else. I have 37 grams, and I know one of them has 40 grams. I lost the paper, and the other one also 42 grams. So I have more than the equivalent. I have almost, well, I have 120 grams. That's more than a skein of yarn. So it would make, you know, a very lacy shawl, and make a shawlette. It would make one of those scarf things I like to make. So there's a fair bit left. And at first I was disappointed because it didn't show up. They weren't obviously different. But now I look at it and I see the subtle stripes, and I like it much more. This has been blocked. I don't block maybe as aggressively as some people do, but I thought I blocked out as much as I could. And the other thing I want to tell you is this is by the designer. You'll see her in Ravelry. I will link it below. And her name is Mariana Mueller. But you will see her on Instagram as Sweet Crochet. Let me see. I wrote it down. Sweet Crochet Dreams. That's the name she uses on Instagram. And I think she might have a website. But on Ravelry, she's Mariana Mueller. And I have approached her, and she has agreed that I can do an interview, and my focus will be on her this month. And I'll show you why in just a minute. But I want to tell you about the yarn. All three of these yarns are from Expression Fiber Arts, and they are all Moon Gleam fingering. I made one other shawl in Moon Gleam fingering a while back. It was light and darker purples, and I actually sold it at the craft show last fall. Moon Gleam fingering is 60% cotton. No, sorry, I'm reading wrong. 50% cotton and 50% mulberry silk. So you can imagine how it feels. It's all natural fibers. It's not wool. For those of you that have wool problems, that are very sensitive to wool, this would be a good alternative, cotton and silk. And to feel it here, it feels lovely. By the way, the colors are smoke, that's the gray, and the two pinks are Mystical Rose and Fuchsia Fade. I don't know which one's which. Lost. They didn't stick with the... Anyhow. After you're done, it feels a little bit stiffer, although you can see it has good drape. And after you wash it, you can sort of feel the silkiness. Cotton, to me, cotton and silk don't feel quite the same as like a merino and silk, but still very, very nice. Okay, so that talks about this. And I have one other FO from this week. And that's how I got on to this designer. She was showing this on Instagram. It is a cowl, and I thought, wow. And she just released the pattern about a week ago, and I said, I gotta give that a try. I want something that is a little faster to make. A cowl doesn't have as much work as some bigger items like shawls. So I went and looked for the pattern, and I didn't realize, because I was looking at Sweet Crochet Dreams, and then I go on Ravelry and I find out it's the same designer as this. And both of these are the same designer as a pattern I made last fall or last summer, and I talk about that another time. But anyway, this is her teal tides cowl, and you can see on the back that because it's done in the round, you definitely see the join, but that'll be at the back. And it does increase. I don't know why we have this fold. Oh, I had folded it and had laid it down. So anyhow, it shouldn't have that crease in it. And it has an increase as you go down. And the yarn I used, you've had see the colors. The yarn I use is again Expression Fiber Arts, alpaca DK, alpaca silk DK, and this is how much I had left: 20 grams of the green and 37s of the I don't know what the color name is. This one's evergreen, but I lost I'm not good at hanging on to the labels and remembering the colors. I might have it listed in my project page. I definitely did do a project page on Ravelry. So if you're really interested, check out my project page, and I probably have the color there, but I won't swear to it. I may have lost it before I entered it. But anyway, that's how much you have left from one ball of each. That's what it takes, one ball of each. And alpaca silk DK has, I believe, 231 yards in it. Here's an alpaca silk DK. I'm all butterfingers here. And it has 50% baby alpaca and 50% mulberry silk, and has 230 yards in it. This is yummy yarn to work with. I don't think I've done a review on alpaca silk DK, so that is the next yarn I'll probably do a review on, maybe in April sometime. But this feels lovely to wear, will be wonderful. And I have some nice size leftovers to put into my stash of leftovers. One day I'll make something with them all. Actually, looking at these, I think these three would look nice together. Some ideas percolating. Okay, finished objects. Oh, and I have one other finished object, and this is not crochet. I started this at Christmas. Remember, I said I was going to start doing things other than crochet to save my hand. And I said I was going to try paint by number. I haven't done that yet. And I was going to do some diamond painting. Well, I finished this diamond painting. And you can see how much it sparkles. You can see the kitty there. That's why I picked this one. A lot of that is not all black. It's black and dark browns. They use for those that are crocheters, for those that do cross stitch, they actually use the DMC floss colors for their beads, which surprised me. And I am just going to get some thumbtacks and tack it up on the wall here in my room. I have started another diamond painting. It is one that has holes in it to put a chain. They send you the chain so that it can be hung. And I'm going to hang it either in my front window or on one of my doors. It's Easter. I'm going to try and do all the different seasons. But you can imagine that got a little bit tiring working on all those dark colors. So you can imagine I'm quite happy now to be working on something very Eastery. Okay. The next thing I need to talk about, just give me a second here. Since I've thought I might have a stomach virus, they said drink lots of fluids, so I'm trying to drink as much as I can. All right, I want to remind you, I have had people sending in their pictures for the Turnpike Creations Mal 24. I can't give you an update yet on Gina. She, I might know by the time this video comes out, but the day I'm making the video is Wednesday, and today was her doctor's appointment. So I don't think she's seen a lot of improvement to this point, at least not when I spoke briefly with her on the weekend. So hopefully when she sees him today, he'll have something else that they can try to improve what's going on with her eyes. But in the meantime, keep working on your wraps. It gives you time to do a second wrap if you want. For those that wanted to do both crochet and knit, there's time yet. You have until, I hope I have my dates right, the 13th to submit, which is another week from now, to submit your finished items, pictures, and you have on the 16th, all going well, we will have our live. And if I know Gina, if she can see even just a little bit, she'll want to pursue doing the live on the day we set. She just really feels bad about letting people down. So I know she'll want to continue with the dates we've set. So we just have to hope that another 10 days makes a big improvement in what's going on with her eyes. Now, I want to reinforce one thing. When you are finished, I mean, people are posting in the Facebook page. We have over 60 people on our Facebook page now, and that's pretty exciting. And I'm hoping that most of those 60 people are there because they want to participate. So we should have 60 pictures or more, because a few have done too. We will have lots of pictures to show you when we do our live show. But and you can post other places. I know people are in the Facebook page for sure. A few have posted on Instagram. But in order to be in the slideshow in our live show, you must send your picture when you're finished to both Gina and I. You don't send some to me and some to her. All finished items must have the picture sent to both Gina and I, because on the day of the live, Gina's doing one job with all of your pictures and I'm doing a different job with all of your pictures. So we both need to have that information. We're also using it as a cross-check to make sure that we didn't miss anybody in making up our list. So I just want to remind you that all your pictures have to be sent to both of us. All right. So good luck in finishing what you're doing. I think I'll leave this item for next week and move on to something else I wanted to talk about. I happened this past week, just over a week ago, while I saw Memphis Makes doing a video on what they call stash down. And she referred to Queen's Crochet by Bridget, who I think started this idea, and she did it last year, of a stash down. And basically they're talking about using their stash, bringing it down. Now, you know that I said that this was my year to shop my stash. Big part of it is right here behind me, and I don't want the boxes to be empty, but I have enough yarn all around me that I could stash down for several years and still have lots behind me. So I thought this was a pretty neat idea. So I'm joining them. I mean, basically you're doing it for yourself, but you can send your video to them or link to your video. And what they are doing is they're keeping track of everything they make during the year that uses yarn from their stash. And they're keeping track by, one person I saw counted the number of labels. You see how good I am at hanging on to labels. Sam at Memphis Makes, she actually is keeping track of the grams, because sometimes you don't use the entire skein. Some people are keeping track of yardage, I understand. Honestly, that is too detailed for me. But Bridget, in her video at the beginning of this year, because they did this last year as well, but at her video at the beginning of this year, she said, and if you just want to keep track of it by project, that's okay. So I thought, okay, I can look back at the projects I've made and know if I use my stash or not. And you know, I am keeping record. I think it's called Pocket Crochet is the app I'm using, and I use it faithfully to record everything I'm doing, because I want to know at the end of the year how much I accomplished. I also use Ravelry. I make a project page anytime I buy a pattern on Ravelry, but I'm not really good about all of the other things I make putting it on Ravelry, and I don't really care. Why do people want to see it? Because who knows where the pattern came from. I make sure I do a project page for every project I make that I purchase on Ravelry. And I do it because I want to help out the designer. When you make something and create a project page, it shows on, I've shown you this, on the main page of the pattern. If you go to the right hand side, it'll say about this pattern, and then it'll say how many projects have been made. And it helps me, I find, to open those projects and have a look at them, because some of them have a different color way of doing it, which appeals to you more. Some of them have good close-up pictures of certain parts so you can see the stitches better. I just think that it's great to have those there, and I think it's really a good thing for the designer. And I'm going to talk about that again in just a minute. So anyhow, I decided I'm going to do this. Now I'm a little behind. Today I'm going to talk about the projects I made in January and February, and then I will do it once a month like the others are, talking about that month. And I'm only going to show you the project I made. I may know a little more information that I can tell you briefly. All right, so the projects I have made for the last 2 months using stash only. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do about this one, because this is stash, and this one I bought in January, so I won't be able to count it, but I will mention it. Anyhow, I started the first of the year by making the pattern Breathe. It is a CJ Brady pattern, and I use this purple tweed from Fireweed. So just briefly, I will show you that finished item that I made in January. Then I made, I don't have it here. I couldn't find it when I went looking, so I'll just put a picture up here. I made the new neck warmer. I made that for our January Mal. Then I made this sweater, and I used latte cake that I have had for a while. I was really pleased to be able to make that. Then I'm going to put two up at the same time. I did, for our Mal, I did the Riverdi wrap. So the first one I made was done with these minis that I opened last July when I did Christmas in July. So this is our Riverdi and I did it narrower to make a scarf out of it. And I also made a second one. As you know, I made the bigger, wider one to make a wrap out of it. And here's where I want to mention the project pages. This pattern, before we started, I think the crochet one had only one project, which might have been the designer's, because the designer always does one. And the Effleuresse, which is the knitted one, it had, I think, two, maybe three. One of them had one, and one of them had two or three. If you go now and look at their patterns in Ravelry, you will see, well, the last time I checked, one of them had 21 projects and the other one, I think, had 26 projects. I think the knitted one has more. And I think that's great for the designer, because now maybe it'll attract more people to do it when they see how lovely the pattern is with all of these different colors and ways to do it, because some people did it in one color. I just saw one this morning. I got a picture from somebody who did it with a gradient cake. Some use, I know Diane, for example, used 4 colors, and the combinations of colors, some of them are absolutely beautiful, and that attracts you to the pattern more. Okay, so that was 5 and 6. And then number 7, sorry, that was 4 and 5. And number 6 is the tendril. I showed it to you last week. This is the pattern I did for the February Mal, the bird inspiration, called Tendril by Carmen Heffernan. Oh, I did do one other, a bandana cowl hoodie. I think I'll put a picture up here. Pretty sure that went in our donation box at the end of January. And then finally, this one, the teal tide cowl, which makes 8 items in 2 months that I made from my stash. And I'm really, really excited about the fact that I am getting things made from my stash. And like, I'm working on this other one, which will get done in within the next week or two. I'm sure I'll be more into it by next week. And that's another one. I also have another one done using stash that I'll show you as an FO next week. And I think today I'm going to go look at my stash to make a shawl for our donation box. So I'm really pleased that I am working down on stash and not buying near as much. I do have a few acquisitions ready to show you. Not going to show them all today, but I do have one that I really do want to show you today. All right, so let's move on. And where is the yarn? Is sitting back here. Get my papers all out of the way. Okay, I have one acquisition I really want to show you. It took a while to get this done. I saw this dyer on Karen Hooley, and like I said, I am on a bit of a diet, as everybody is saying, when it comes to buying yarn. And I'm not buying from the US if I can avoid it. But I really felt I needed to buy this yarn for a few reasons. First thing is, I think a lot of you maybe have the impression that I'm a bit of a yarn snob because I only use hand-dyed yarn, expensive luxury yarns. And I have to tell you, I really am not. I have nothing against all the yarns that are out there. The thing is, I have discovered over the last few years that my preference is to work with thinner weight yarns. I love working with fingering weight the most. Sport weight, pretty close to fingering weight. Sock and fingering are about the same. And I don't mind DK depending on the yarn, but not all DKs. Like working on this, I didn't mind because it's a DK that isn't as heavy as some of the DKs you get in the store. So because I like thin yarns, and we only have Michaels up here. Yeah, there's a little bit of yarn in Walmart too, but you know, the Walmart I have access to is not considered a huge store because I'm not in a large city. I'm not in a big center. So if you go to Michael's, what do you see? Well, the last time I went in, they were really pushing really heavy yarns. And yes, once in a while I make a baby blanket with a number 5 or 6. But other than that, I don't care to work with heavy yarns. Number 4s, yes, some of them. When I make my shawls, I make them often with, what do I use? I use Lion Brand mandalas or mandalas, however you say it. I think they're a 3-weight, but they're a heavier 3-weight than this. I do like Scarfy, which is a 5-weight. Don't use it a lot because I don't have the right things to make with it. I love making shawls. So I tend to use lighter weights. So that means hand-dyed. I also love choosing the kinds of colors that are out there from the indie dyers. So that's why I buy them, because I really like them. It's not that I have anything against the others. When you have only Michaels available, you don't have a whole lot of choice in yarns. The yarns that some of you can buy in the US, I see, and they, like for instance, I've seen Yarn Bee Chloe, I think it is, and it looks heavenly soft. Yarn Bee comes from Hobby Lobby. I can't get anything from Hobby Lobby. Yarn Bee also has a hand-dyed yarn that is fingering weight. Don't have access to it. So when you can't buy all of these yarns, you buy what you can. And that's why I go online and I buy these gorgeous yarns, and I'm buying from Canada. I saw the exchange rate was up over 42% the last time I looked. So anyway, having said that, I am not a snob in what yarns I use either. I have nothing against acrylics and polyesters, and I use them, you know, in some of the shawls I make. In fact, I have to use acrylic for the shawls I donate. So it's not that I am against those others. It's just that I found what I like and what I want to work with. But I found this yarn that I thought you would really want to know about. I love hand-dyed yarns, and you and I both know if you go looking for hand-dyed yarns, they big percentage are merino or merino nylon blend. But you can get things like alpaca and yak and cashmere, and you know, I've talked about a lot of these different yarns, mohair, and the list goes on. But you would never have seen until now anybody that dyes an acrylic. An acrylic is very hard to dye because you ask the dyers, they have to cook the yarn. Some of you've tried, I'm sure if you've used Kool-Aid or Jell-O or something like that, maybe not, but most of the time they put it in a big pot on the stove and they cook it. And acrylic is very, very difficult because acrylic is made from plastic and it will melt and do funny things. But I watched Karen talk to this lady who she'd found who hand dyes acrylic yarn. And she said it took a long time and a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error to get it to work. She does, she has polyester, but sorry, she has fingering, but not a lot of it. And she does DK and worsted, I think the most. And the DK and worsted are much more vibrant in color. But you know me, I just don't enjoy working with the heavier weights as much. But she said she had a little bit of fingering that she had still left over, and she was willing to sell me some of her fingering, and I got to choose the colors because they weren't dyed. So here you have it, an acrylic hand-dyed yarn. Can you see the tonal? See, it's purpley in there and it's lighter. And the company is called Yarn for the Masses. I will definitely link her in the description box below. You see all of her information there. So people that have problems with wool, here is an alternative. She is in Colorado. I had no choice. If I wanted to get some of this, I had to order from the US. But she was quite reasonable in her shipping. And the other thing is, it's still not as cheap as what you go and buy in the big box stores, but it is cheaper than normal hand-dyed yarn. So if you go and look at, you know, a regular fingering weight hand-dyed yarn, it'll be anywhere from, I don't know, $28 to $30. This was $21. If you buy a DK or a worsted, same price usually for hand-dyed, but less. Okay. Oh, by the way, I'll tell you the specs in a minute. But it was, was it 19 or 17? It was cheaper for DK and worsted weight. And it seems to me, if I recall correctly, had more yardage. So you want to go and check her out. Now, let me read you the specs. I have 4 skeins to show you. It is 85% acrylic and 15% nylon. This is called Sockweight, or number 1 weight. And it has, get a load of this. I paid $21. 675 yards. Most fingering weights have around 400, well, they're 400 meters, which is 435 yards. And that's sort of standard, but some of them have a little less and some of them have a little more. 675 yards for $21. I can make probably a full shawl out of it if I pick something open. And the last test, oh, this feels wonderful. It feels like there's cashmere in it. Yep, it feels as good as cashmere. Absolutely. So, like I said, I have 4 different skeins. Here's another one. This one. Now, here's the problem. I actually ordered 5. And I didn't get exactly what I ordered because she was having trouble with the green. The green wasn't working. There's a little bit of green in this one, but the one that I ordered that was mostly green wasn't working, so I had to cancel that one. And the other 2, I got what it came out with. So it did come out with some green, but there's pink and again blues. Then I have this one. This one, she showed something made in it called Lakeshore, and it has browns in it up here, browny orange. There's more of the brown. It just looked really, really nice, so I wanted to try it. Again, though, every one I got has blues in it. But I didn't want to get too much. I wanted to feel it and work with it before I get more. So I will try to make something out of them. And when the exchange rate goes down, there's more brown, I'll buy more. Now this one is much heavier in the pink and purple. Still blue, but pink and purple. And she did, because two of them didn't work, she gave me a couple dollars off. I have to tell you, the customer service is wonderful. She was great to work with. I would definitely order from her again. I think because these colors that I ordered were much more vibrant in the heavier weights, I think I might try ordering one in a DK weight. I don't think it'll have as much yardage, but I think I might try a DK weight the next time I order from her. I have to tell you, these really feel nice. Since it is a Sockweight, let's see if I can get a strand out here. Sockweight, so you can see it is thinner. Or lace weight, it says. It's on a par with a lot of my fingering weights. It just feels so heavenly. I mean, it's and it feels like it has silk in it because it is what you might call slippery. It has a silky kind of feeling to it. It is really nice yarn. And I know I have viewers out there that would like to try hand-dyed, but find hand-dyed a little bit expensive. Well, here is a chance to get something hand-dyed that is cheaper. Also, I have viewers that have yarn, wool allergies, and to buy hand-dyed yarn, they would have to get something like alpaca, which is always more than merino, or possibly yak or cashmere. They'd have to buy a more expensive type yarn because of their allergies. Well, here's a chance, acrylic, to get something that you won't have a problem with and a little bit more reasonable. So it's still hand-dyed. We have to pay for that process. And it has been, I understand, a learning curve for the dyer. I mean, she done a lot of work to get this process to work. So I hope some of you will support her. Go and check out the colors she has. Like I said, she has other colors I would like to try. She had a couple of really nice screens I would like. So I just really, really wanted to share this with you because it is a great alternative for a number of you. And I also wanted you to know that I'm okay with working with acrylic. I don't have to have merino and silk and cashmere and yak and all that wonderful stuff. I just need the weight I like and the pretty colors I like. So that kind of wraps up what I wanted to cover today. The other item I will cover next week. So next week, we will continue on with National Crochet Month. And also, I've decided once again to really do some major destashing. I have already gone through hand-dyed yarns because I have more hand-dyed yarns than I can ever use. So I have gone through and pulled a fair bit out there. And I'm going to start destashing my, what I call big box store yarns, the heavier weights that I have gotten away from using. So I'm thinking that next week I may have some yarn to show you that I am going to sell. Hand-dyed yarns, already all caked. I probably have, maybe 3 dozen cakes that I will show you next week, and possibly some of you will be interested in purchasing at a really, really good price. So that's all I'm sure of for next week. Of course, I hope to have some finished objects. So I hope you'll be back to join me again next week. And until then, happy hooking.